come out at night. The geeks come out at night. The geeks come out at night. The geeks come out. The geeks come out at night.
Hello, everybody out there, and welcome to another episode of Keep Crawling with Mike and Brendan. Last time I checked, I was Michael Curtis.
Still Brendan LaSalle, despite reports.
And here we are after a 2-week delay. We are now back live on the Goodman Games Twitch channel. So we are very happy to be here this evening, and we hope you are joining us here. And if you give us feedback, let us know if our audio issues have been corrected. We've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes to get things working, and we think we've solved the majority of the problems. So there we are. We see we are just getting things started, and things are pretty quiet on our end so far. I think everybody has forgotten about the show, Brendan. So currently we don't have anybody in the chat room. so it's just you and I. So everybody will catch this up, asynchronously is when they are watching it later on. So how have you been gaming wise, man? It's been 2 weeks. What have you been up to?
It's been nothing but good gaming for me. For the most part, it's been a lot of fun. I had so for my Sunday night game for Blades Against Bandwidth, also here on the Twitch channel, we just had week 2 of the Emerald Enchanter. That's a lot of fun. Oh, we had Diogo. Diogo came and played with us on Sunday. That was really fun. It was a good time. Yeah, he was great. And then last week, the last 2 weeks of game therapy have been 2 weeks ago. I finally did my trauma adventure, my Mutant Sprawl High School, and it was almost great. Not quite. It was, it was this close. Turns out high school life is a lot more complicated than you could think of. And, a fight that starts at the prom, I don't know. You thought it'd be more fun, but it wasn't great. But last week we did Cavemen. We did my the Kings of the Stone Age game, and that was really fun. And now that means we've actually done 10 episodes of that so far, 10 different worlds. So we're like 1% of our promise to bring you 10,000 insane worlds, 1,000 insane worlds. So we're 1% done.
Okay.
Feeling good about that.
So maybe by the time the coronavirus has passed, we will be done then.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I figured 9.99 and out.
Yeah. All right. So we have Sleepy Figures is in the chat, and he says audio sounds good. So far it sounds like we are off to a good start. As I mentioned, we have been doing a lot behind the scenes to make sure that things are better. We figure after 8 shows, we should know what we're doing. Hopefully, this will be the proof that we need. And so, thank you for letting us know, Sleepy Figures, that so far things are going really good. So
grateful. Thank you much.
So it's been a very quiet week for gaming for me. It's been a lot going on. I took a week off, as you know, from the War Crawl thing, and then had some stuff going on this past week, so I wasn't able to get much gaming in. So it's just been just really reading a lot and watching a lot of movies to kind of pass out of stuff that could be gaming related at some point, but no. So that was.
And I think all the best movies, the ones that really grip you are the ones that make you think, what would this be like as a scenario for an RPG?
I like the way you think there, Mr. LaSalle. So almost as if you were prepping the audience for perhaps what we'll be talking about later on this evening, but
Oh, I might be a bit.
Yes, it's almost like this is our 8th show. I can't believe that we've actually made 8 of these things so far. It's just like, I remember when we started this, like, we should do something to get, to entertain people while the coronavirus is going on, and then we were talking like what are we gonna do when when the coronavirus is over, and we still have more show, and Apparently, that's not going to be a problem. So.
Will not come up, I don't think. No, I think I really look forward to our 10th anniversary quarantine lockdown show where we review how the years have treated us now that we're mole people living in, just pale. And, I think we're going to do great at it. You know what I mean? I think I'm literally a hamster wheel and an upside down water bottle away from being completely self-contained here in the old Casa Mia.
Yeah.
So cross the finger for your old home, boys.
We'll have to do return to the post-apocalyptic episode. We'll have to we'll have to get the warehouse Yeti on. He's now a desert warlord. He's ruling over people 7 feet tall of pure Yeti fury in the desert. So.
I want to get on the good side of that, so I'm going to send him this razor boomerang that I've been sitting on for a while. Just have it. You know that it's for you. I saw it, and I knew it was for you, Yeti. So.
And Jess is joining us, our number one fun Jess. Hey, Jess, how are you doing?
Jess!
Thank you.
What's up, Jess?
And we have Jeff as well. Post-apocalypse isn't as fun when I feel like I'm in the apocalypse now. That is very true, Jeff. That's
right.
That's what we're all living right now. That's one of the reasons I'm not running really any post-apocalyptic games, because hell, the cosplay is going on all the time. So.
Yeah.
So as from what I remember of our format of the show, we generally we talk for a little while, and then we do a little segment we call Treasure Type U, where we display something that one of our fans has sent in. And tonight we have one from across the pond, if that is correct. Do we not? So, all right, so I am going to. This is a very special Treasure Type U. Look at that! Right now, the people at home are staring at a beautiful battered box. And Brendan, tell us more about what we're looking at here.
I will. So this entry comes from my ace homeboy, Bruce Cunnington, one of my really good buddies in the gaming community and the stalwart DCC road crew guy. And he says this. He says, I started gaming in 1985 with the classic Red Box set. Over the years, I've learned a lot about the history of the hobby, and whilst I don't consider myself a collector, I have acquired table-usable copies of every D&D rule set. The one thing that evaded me due to its ever-escalating value was a genuine copy of the original edition of the game. Quite simply, I'd rather spend that kind of money on experiences, such as traveling to gaming conventions, rather than things, because I'm not really a collector, says Bruce. That changed when I got back from my first trip to GaryCon. I was sitting down to run my regular DCC Road Crew game at Weekend Warlords, breaking in here, I've been to Weekend Warlords. It's a great store. They just closed this year. It was a shame because it was a fantastic. I ran 2 games there in 2 different years. It was fantastic. I'm just sitting down to run my regular DCC Road Crew game at Weekend Warlords when Jim, one of my oldest gaming mates, slid something across the table to me. It was his original white box set, including a copy of Chainmail and 2 sets, one unopened of dice. A generous gift, which means so much to me. He says, great job with the show, Bruce. So thank you, Bruce. Thank you for sharing that with us. And it's a great story. And, obviously, thank you, Jim. I assume it's a Jim that I know. He's another good old guy. So thank you. Thank you for sharing all that with us.
Yeah. That is from what I was able to tell about it, because I think I have the same set. That is either a I think it's either a 6th or a 7th printing of the white box set. It's not one of the originals because it has the starburst that says original edition, on it, which came out later. And this was after the Tolkien lawsuit, so they had to remove all mentions of like Ents and hobbits and all the rest of that stuff. But yeah, and those dice those are the original dice from a Holmes basic set, because I also have a set of I had 2 sets of those. I have one set which actually no, I don't have anymore, because I had a set which was in my Holmes box, but I sold my Holmes box recently. But I had another set of that which was in my original Gamma World box, and I opened. Nice. It was still in the shrink wrap, and I cracked that open at GaryCon 5 or 6, where I ran Gamma World right at the table. So I still have those, but they're slowly falling apart, as any good old school TSR dice will. And
Oh yeah.
and that's actually we have a wonderful picture also now of the third edition of Chainmail, which he has. So
Ooh, look at that.
I do not have a version of Chainmail like that. So and the war gamer in me is somewhat jealous of that. So good job, Bruce. I do have the PDF version of it I printed out, but yeah, those that's a charming little bit of treasure there. There's a beautiful part of the hoard. So
It is. And if we have more show to go, and we want to show more of this. So if you have something super cool at home, please, you can email that to me directly, Brendan@goodman-games.com. I want pictures, I want stories, and the best thing that can happen is we'll make you famous, put you on the internet. The worst thing that happens is Mike and I break into your house and steal it in this wonderful high-style adventure.
And I will bring out the point now that I am doing the tech. Now that I'm doing the OBS stuff on my end rather than Brendan's stuff and everything. We have met. We can actually play video now. so if you want to send us a short video of your cool stuff, we can actually play those now. So
yeah, sorry, y'all. I tried.
It's okay, man. It's all right. It's just hopefully everything hopefully this is the big issue. What we're having is Brendan's hamster in his computer got very tired, so that was one of the reasons we were having issues with tech and everything like that. But
he's got a hard life.
We're doing things on my end, and hopefully that will fix the problem. But knock on wood. So there we go.
Who would have thought that my 10-year-old laptop wasn't up to today's modern internet demands? I mean, 10 years ago, wasn't it like the 90s? Wasn't everything great back then? I don't know.
I mean, hell, we could get to the moon on what, 32 bits? What was it?
Yeah.
What was it, Apollo 11? That's
And yet, if I move my head funny, you guys can see the back of my nasty closet and everything. That makes no sense. What the heck? Come on now.
Oh, and I see Son of Thrain, so I know who that is. This is also we're running smooth tonight, and we've also got Mr. BK McDevitt here. We've got both the McDevitts joining us this evening. So
hell yeah, nice.
So yeah, cool. All right. Well, that being our general spiel of getting things going, let us move on to the main topic of our conversation, which will probably be taking us to the rest of this evening. But we've decided after the, as we were calling the catastrophe of our last show, where, we basically things fell apart at 45 minutes into, we would ease things back and talk about something that Brendan and I can talk about until the cows come home. And that is movies. We were talking about movies tonight and how to take some of those beloved movies that you may vaguely remember or may have never seen. We may be expanding some horizons here tonight. And we're going to talk about how to blatantly steal plot lines from those movies and turn them into something that your players, even if they are fans of said movies, will not be able to recognize. So, Brendan and I both have at least 3 movies in our quiver ready to fire out for your entertainment tonight. So, Brendan, why don't you pick a movie? Why don't you tell people's criteria of like the movies you chose, because you had sort of like a Venn diagram in your head of which movies you were going to discuss. So
I absolutely did. I wanted to choose things that weren't getting discussed a whole lot because they aren't on people's radar all the time, but would also had bits that would make for really excellent role-playing game adventure inspiration. And then also that I truly loved and feel like I wanted to share with all of our audience at home, and of course everybody watching on YouTube. This is tough, YouTube, love. And then I thought, and maybe even a touch of the controversial. You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit of like, so that was what I went for, and I hope we've come up with a couple of movies that absolutely fit the bill.
All right. Yep. So I roughly, it's kind of the same for me. I want to do something which weren't exactly mainstream, for the most part, I did not choose anything that was in the fantasy genre. That was my own personal criteria for that. I wanted to stretch my boundaries and be a little bit more challenging. And as I promised in a Facebook post, we will not be talking about Hawk the Slayer here tonight. And so I hate to disappoint you, Hawk the Slayer's fan, but it is a terrible freaking movie. All right.
I feel like Hawk the Slayer has to be a full episode. You know, like if we're ever going to do that,
Well, you get somebody else then to fill in for me because I'm not going to spend an hour of my life talking about Hawk the Slayer. All right. See, yeah, I will talk about your Hunter from the future before I will talk about Hawk the Slayer.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
All right, Brad, I will do that. All right. So then, what with that criteria in mind, what is your first movie you want to discuss here, Brendan?
Okay, so the first movie I want to discuss is post-apocalyptic, and it is possibly the greatest geek sports movie of all time, crossing genres. You at home, just from that, I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. Blood of Heroes, a.k.a. Night of the Jugger. A young Vincent D'Onofrio oh my God, his name, Rutger Howard, Joan Chen. They put as children, they're kids. After the war, there is a game. No one knows where the game came from or why it came to be played. The Dog Skull. They go 100 stones 3 times. Those are your periods. You and your group of chain/pole weapon, thugs have to get past the other group of chain/pole welding thugs. Put your dog skull on that spike. That means it's over and it's time for drinking and making new friends. This is one of our house movies that we grew up on. The first time I saw this movie, it was like, what just happened? Like, I was like, did something that cool really happen in my life? I am crazy about this film. I'm like the biggest fan. And the thing is, the plot, it's reskinned A League of Their Own. It's reskinned Bad News Bears. It's that typical sports story.
It is. It's every sports movie. It's every, like come from behind, Bush League team, fighting their way to the championship, except it's after the apocalypse.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. You've got Joan Chen as the young hopeful. She wants to break in. She wants to be a jugger,
she's a quick, right? If I remember this.
She's a quick, yes. And the quick is really important. And actually, like the original quick for Rutgers team, the Dog Boy. The Dog Boy. The original quick, she actually injures his leg during a match. And then when the Dog Boy can't go any further, he just, he basically sits down in the desert. It's like, I can't walk. Leave me the food and the water. See you later. Because that's, you know what? Let me see somebody from the Rangers do that. All right? No, sir. No, they would not. It's a fantastic movie. But I always love the underground city that they go to when they go to the they go to the Red City. They go to the 9 cities. And they're on this when they get there, there's a queue waiting to get in the city that goes on for like long enough for chess games to start and stop. You know what I mean? Like, hours and hours. And then it's like an elevator ride down to it. And like the elevator is so long that people like sleep and wake up along the way. Like people nap during the elevator trip and such to get down there. All to go ahead and make a challenge for a league game against the real big players of it. I'm getting verklempt. I am crazy about this film. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful sports story. It's an interesting take on post. This is a post-apocalyptic, which has gone on so long that they've started to recover some culture. They've got music and dancing. They've got traditions because the game is covered in traditions. I mean, they're fairly brutal. The kind of traditions you can have after the bomb, but they're traditions. And this our ragtag group of wannabes, makes their way back. And of course, there's the controversy because Rutger Hauer's character, Sallow, he was in the league. He was one of the big kids, but he got kicked out because he was brought low by a woman.
Dun, dun, dun.
I know. Give me that all day, every day. And then you see her for a minute later, and she's clearly crazy because she wants to eat the blood of people who get hurt. She actually says that she has the title line. I'm not interested in violence. I'm only interested in the blood of heroes. You and me both, my love. You and me both. Oh. I love that movie. And I didn't tell you this. One of the reasons I'm bringing this one up specifically is because I actually used this in a role-playing game in the past, back in my White Wolf days. So yeah, I had a long running vampire game, and my vampires eventually made friends and ingratiated themselves with the werewolf community at large. They found they had common enemies, and one night the werewolves invite them out to play a game. And what it is that they are specifically playing this game, and like the idea is that the game, the Jugger game, has been going on throughout the werewolf community forever, and it's a way to teach lupus-born werewolves how to use their human form. They can't just bite people. They have to actually use weapons. They have to use tools and strategies. They can't just growl and wolf out. So the movie, in the reality of my game, the movie was actually put out to codify the rules because there were so many variants worldwide that no one knew what they were doing. So I took that directly, and it made for a fun game. My rules for how the Jugger game were terrible, and once I actually saw them in play, I was like, no, this is a bad idea. But I had fun with it in general. But mostly, what I really loved is that underground city. I love the elevator ride going down there. I love that they all at one point they all sort of sleep. It's like a wall of like tiered beds and little tiny like alcoves. And Vincent D'Onofrio had to come up and yell up at them, we got the game, they said yes. I'm like, everyone starts yelling, shut up, nobody cares. That's so real, I love that. So I found that game very inspirational. They have bike messengers in the city that have little, fancy Lord Fauntleroy bike messenger outfits on. That's my kind of post-apocalyptic.
That is. I actually know people in real life. Well, I know one person. I did not know his friends because he was a bit older than us, but he used to play in one of a friend's D&D group maybe about 15, 20 years ago. And he, as a younger man, he and a bunch of his buddies got together and they played live action Blood of Heroes. They got a dog skull and they dressed up in chainmail and they figured out the rules for it and they played it for real. And it was like rugby, it was but that's the kind of people that when you're a gamer, right? That's
yeah.
So
respect. Hey.
He was, because I don't know how we got on the tangent, but he was just like, he's like, yeah, you ever see this movie called Blood of Heroes? I'm like, yeah, Blood of Heroes. He's like, well, we played that. I'm like, get the hell out of here. And he's like, oh yeah, it's like a friend of ours got a dog skull, like a literal dog. Like I don't know where he got it from, but they put the stakes and they were running and tackling and they played that and then drank a lot of beer after they were done. So,
well, good for them.
No, so,
I'll tell you, I think I'm.
No, go ahead. No.
I think I'm too much of an animal lover to play with an actual dog skull, but if Nerf ever comes out with one, I'm in. A Nerf dog skull.
The Nerf dog skull. I think it was. I don't know if it was like roadkill or something that just somebody had, or I don't think there was actual dog murder involved or anything. But
God bless.
So if you were going to take Blood of Heroes and slip it into a game, like you said, you've already used it in Werewolf.
Yes.
Would there be a way that you would use the plot or something from Blood of Heroes in like a role playing game now and kind of do it so it wasn't like it wouldn't be like, hey, you guys are a post-apocalyptic sports team, and how would you use Blood of Heroes and turn it into something else?
I think I could see stealing that team dynamic, and the relationship between the coach and they have their coach and they have their players. I love the idea that the one player is, the Rucker Hauer's character is actually preventing them from going forward because they just don't. He has dishonored them somehow with this lady, and they're therefore not interested in having him around. So I might try to steal that team dynamic, I think for me, mostly that one, that's a very much of a sports story. And I actually think that unless you're playing the WWE game, I think it's really hard to do sports in a role-playing game setting. It's really, more of like a card game thing. So if I was going to take parts of it, I would piecemeal out the parts of the setting that I really like. And I have on many occasions. I have at some point, I have an Underground City campaign that I ran for a long, long time that definitely had kind of the look and feel of, but I don't know that I would actually have the characters as the sports thing, but I could see my characters being the guards that have to get the sports team from one town to another and why couldn't there be controversy between the 9 cities, and my guys having to like prevent their firm from coming over and bothering your firm? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be interesting. Like the Jugger fan hooligans. You know what I'm saying? That follow them from town to town.
Right.
And watch and get mad and have fights in the stands. That's the story I might want to tell.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I can see you could easily do it like a gladiator type session, like you could have like rival, like different if you see Spartacus Blood and Sand, like the old Showtime stuff where you had the different gladiator schools. You could do that with like the party is like a bunch of gladiators and they're kind of working their way up to go to the big imperial city. You could, it's like, well, that you're kind of ripping off the plot, but you see, as we said, that's like the plot of every sports movie. It's like literally like the team that comes from nowhere and makes it big, or doesn't, or like gets all the way to the start but then fails, but they learn a lesson about teamwork, so yeah. So I mean, you see, that's one of those things. Like if you ran into that into a game and like this plot is kind of familiar, but that's more. It's not like It's not like, oh, we're ripping out Blood of Heroes. It's like, oh, we're just playing that classic sports, the classic sports plot line. So
yes.
No. All right, cool, man. That's a great movie. That's one of those movies that you almost expect, like you expect Ron Perlman to be in, but he's not. He's like
how do they miss him?
I know, it's like Ron Perlman is just one of those, it's like you watch Quest for Fire and like, that's Ron Perlman. Like, how old is Ron Perlman? He's been around in everything, But,
I watched this terrible TV show because of Ron Perlman. This, what was it called? Bikers. Like bikers are riding around.
Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah. Oh, that's not a good film.
I dug Sons of Anarchy. I think I faded out for the last 2 seasons, but I mean, it's really middle-aged white guy fantasy. It's like if you're not a gamer, it's like I can imagine being a biker. It's like I'm gonna run guns for the IRA and but yeah,
All right, Mike, I'm ready to hear your first movie pick. What's on your list?
Okay, first on my list. Now, I as I mentioned, I purposely did not choose anything that is in fantasy. I have one which is kind of sci-fi, but we'll get to that. But so the first movie I'm going to mention is a movie which was produced by Michael Nesmith of the Monkees. So if you remember the Monkees, he was the one who wore the hat. All right. This is a movie which has, to my mind, one of the top 5 greatest soundtracks of cinema history. Is a little movie that stars Emilio Estevez and Harry Dean Stanton. It is a movie called Repo Man. So, yeah. So Repo Man, I think 1984. The plot of Repo Man is that Emilio Estevez is kind of a drift, a aimless post high school, student in a guy in Los Angeles. He's a punk, literally like punk rocker, and he has no direction in his life. And through a series of misadventures, he actually ends up working as a repo man under the tutelage, as the apprentice of Harry Dean Stanton. Harry Dean Stanton is playing he is a grizzled veteran of the profession. And the plot revolves around the repo men of Los Angeles hear that there is a high bounty on a Chevy Malibu. So it is all about the rival repo men trying to get their hand on this Chevy Malibu. And the reason that the Chevy Malibu is so important is because there are alien bodies from Area 51 in the trunk of the Chevy Malibu. So the government is after it, all the repo men are after it, and they are basically, it's this slice of life about what's it like to be a repo man in a Hollywood motion picture in 1984 in Los Angeles. And it does not have a lot of famous people in it. I think outside of Harry Dean Stanton and Emilio Estevez, the other character you might remember is I forget his name, but if you're watching this Twitch show, you probably know him as Malik from Conan the Destroyer, who plays the kind of the janitor mechanic at the Repo Man depot. And he plays a very important role in it later on in the movie. But
Tracy Walker.
Tracy Walker, that is correct. Yes, that's right. So yeah, so this is it has, as I said, it has one of the best soundtracks you will ever see in a motion picture, including a devastating theme song by Mr. Iggy Pop, who will be mentioned another time before this episode is over. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah.
Black Flag, Circle Jerk, Suicidal Tendencies, The Burning Sensations do a cover of Pablo Picasso by the Modern Lovers. There is, and I'm forgetting the name of the band now, but the lead singer on it is Tito from Tito and the Tarantulas, which you might remember from Dust Till Dawn. They were the he was the lead guitar player. He was also in True Stories, the Talking Heads movie. Well, not the Talking Heads movie, but it's got not Gabriel Byrne.
Is that the Plugs with a Z?
Yes, the Plugs. Yes, right. That is the Plugs. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That is a tremendous movie. It is a comedy. It is there's some of the greatest lines you will ever, that's why there's not a single Repo man I know who doesn't use speed. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yes, as somebody brought up, yes, Suburbia actually, Noah's Burt RPG. Suburbia was actually also on my short list. I thought about that might have been my fourth, but yeah, you could Repo Man, Suburbia, of course, Decline of Western Civilization Part 1, all great punk rock movies. But I'm picking Repo Man because that is such a great plot, and you could do so much with that. It's just the idea of like rival groups after a MacGuffin, and the way I think I would do it, and I would do it as a pirate game.
Ooh.
So like you are a pirate ship, and you get word that there is like not like a treasure fleet, like some weird like a merchant caravel, this battered up piece of crap that for some reason like all the pirates are after, and it's like all these rival pirates, and then perhaps like the Empire is also after it too, and nobody knows why somebody wants this, like apparently it's owned by like a yarn merchant or something completely innocuous. But so there's this whole kind of rivalry back and forth to whoever's going to get the ship first and everything, and then you finally do get the ship. You fight off all the all the rivals for it and everything, and you discover that the ship has some weird stuff on it. Like this literally could be like, if you like this, at this point it now becomes the Spelljammer campaign, because it has like the helm on it, and you can actually now take the caravel off into space, which may have certain reproductions. For some reason, there may be a reason I mentioned this. I think that's how I would adapt Repo Man to like a fantasy setting. I
love that.
The classic, like going after like a Chevy, like whatever the medieval maritime version of a Chevy Malibu would be. Yeah.
Sloop John B. I don't know much about those. Sorry.
So Repo Man is my number one choice of my three. So
I too love that movie dearly, and I got that soundtrack, and like that led me to so many bands that I fell in love with and wound up seeing live. It's an amazing movie, and there are certain friends of mine who I still see. But it also has this kind of neat, surreal quality to it. I love that. Like every time they would go out, they would have like everything with no frills, generic. You know what I mean? They would get cans of drinks that would just say drinks on them. You know what I mean? Or
right,
food. You know what I'm saying?
And that's all you get. All that when I moved out to Los Angeles for the first time, that you buy all that stuff at Ralph's. Ralph's supermarket chain. They had that generic stuff. I walked into Ralph's for the first time, and I saw that. I was like, oh my god, I want Repo Man. Of course, they don't have like food. Like in Repo Man, they have like there's one stuff they just buy food. But I did for the longest time had a Ralph's beer can, which was just a white can with a blue label that said in like impact font. It said beer on it, and that was it. That was so. Anybody who's listening to this or watching this show from the West Coast can totally back me up, man. It's all Ralph's food stuff. So
that's a trip.
Yes. So, yes. We're picking out. Yes, a lot of Suburbia love here. The Shout Factory released a deluxe Blu-ray of Suburbia. Actually, one of my favorite things about Suburbia is that there's a great scene when they're all piled into the car, and Razzle, somebody's saying something to Razzle, and they inadvertently refer to as Flea. because that's, of course, Mike B. the Flea of Red Hot Chili Peppers fame. And his response is, I'm not Flea, my name's Razzle. Because nobody on the movie had any acting experience whatsoever. but it's a great throwaway line. You're listening to that like, hey, I know that. So.
I should watch it again. I think the last time I saw it was like my junior year in high school.
It's on Amazon Prime, man. It's on. You can watch it. You go home and you are home. What are we talking about? Yes, my name's Razzle. Sky 2. Yeah. All right. Okay. So number 2, Mr. Brendan. What are we going to talk about here?
All right. So my number 2 is this is an obscure one, okay, and one that I actually went to review it for this show. Like I knew I wanted to talk about it and couldn't get it without actually getting restarting my DVD.com membership and getting the disc mailed to me. And I was like, But I want to mention this is a horror anthology, okay, that's got some neat components, but one that really captured my imagination as a child, and that is, of course, Nightmares. Once again with Emilio Estevez. Are we Emilio Estevez fanboys, you and I?
We might secretly be.
Yeah.
God knows he needs some.
Yeah, poor Emilio Estevez. I mean, but you know what? In his prime, he did some great movies. He's done some big stuff. I don't know.
That's what happens when you take the family name. Everybody knows Charlie Sheen from Martin Sheen, and everybody knows Emilio Estevez from Joe Estevez. So that's a real big drop off. But
I don't know.
But no. So Nightmares. I have never even heard of this movie when I saw it come up on the list. So.
Yeah. So it's a horror compilation. There's really only 2 very good stories in it. The first one is this priest who's played by, what is his name?
Ron Perlman.
No, the android from Aliens.
Lance Henriksen.
Lance Henriksen as a priest who is like he's like lost his faith, and then he's making his way he's like he's basically leaving the priesthood, and he's brought some holy water with him to be like he's gonna just drink holy water on the way over there. And on the way there, it's kind of like The Hitcher in a way. Like on the way there, suddenly this pickup truck comes and just starts like trying to just kill him, just tries to knock his car out and such. And there's evidence that possibly the devil is behind the wheel there, and there are consequences. But the one that I really like is the third one with Emilio Estevez. So in this one, this is he's a video game fanatic, like an 80s arcade, quarter, slot video game fanatic. Big fan of this game called The Bishop's Battle. And it begins with this mechanical voice, I am the Bishop of Battle. I have 13 progressively harder layers. Do you dare to challenge me, mortal? And, he goes in there and he plays it almost to death. You know what I'm saying? And then he has to actually break in at night after the mall is closed to finish his game up. And then while he's there, he beats it and it takes it to the next level. Like it goes to level 13, and now all of the video game, constructs are now like really very early, terrible CGI something or other that now come to life. And he's having to like jump around the arcade and blast these things. I mean, that absolutely captured my imagination as a kid. I was that kid. I was the kid that would go and play, Star Command, Defender, endless pinballs, big pinball fan. Mm-hmm. And to the idea that like you could actually become, I don't think you can play a lot of role-playing games, as a serious role-playing gamer. I don't think you can do it and not at some point think, wow, what if I could go into the world? What if I was to find a magic portal that would take me into this world? What would I be like? What class would I be? What spells would I know? The idea of the game coming to life and you being a part of the game. I mean, it's kind of basic actually. You know what I mean? Now there's a half dozen horror movies that have that it's just a game, or is it? Right. Is like the big twist point and such. But this was the first one that I saw. Before that, there was a great episode of a comic book I really like called Weird War, where the same thing happened, where you find out that and this is way pre The Last Starfighter, I mean, like a decade before it. But it turns out this guy is playing this video game and he's actually controlling the ship of this far off galaxy that's fighting a war against these whatever. Kid takes it really seriously and all. So, I don't know. That always appealed to me, and I think that the game becoming real, that you were actually a part of it. I think that's a fundamental good story to tell with a role playing game. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a part of it. I mean, again, now it's so almost so obvious that like, oh, Jumanji. You know what I'm saying? It's essentially that too. But I think I really like the idea of players playing a game where the game then becomes real. If I was going to do a Bishop of Battle type story, I mean, I have done in the past. I had done people playing, like we start off players playing a role-playing game, and now we become, the role-playing game guys. But I think I might like go straight and rip that off and actually like have either a video game or a board game, like not so much you would go into the game, but rather that the creatures would come to life and then be a part of your reality. You know what I mean? Imagine a collectible card game or something like that, like Magic the Gathering.
Right.
And as you're playing these cards, suddenly outside your window is the mutant goblin or whatever it happens to be. I think, and then having those things run around in the modern world and make you sort of like rethink what reality can be, should be, and is. I think that's really. I don't know. I think that would be the basis for a really fun role-playing game.
All right, cool. Yeah, there's actually an urban legend out there about and unfortunately I don't remember the details of it right now. But if you did like video game mind control urban legend, I'm sure you dig up. But there was like stories that there was like a government plan and like they put like this special video game somewhere on like I think in Oregon or something like that, and it was designed to basically Manchurian candidate you like if you played it long enough, put like subconscious hypnotic suggestions in you. But yeah, so that you could easily do something like that and tie that into like a modern or even like a Tales from the Loop era type, like if you want to do like a horror conspiracy thing, that one way that you can actually do that as well is in addition to like the game becomes real or that kind of aspect to it.
It's a fundamental story, and I heard that story too. And if I had to guess, Golden Tee 2, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. All right.
Every bar. You
all right.
Trust me, man.
Okay.
They're watching.
So, cool. Yeah. So yeah, I do not know that one. I will have to check that one out. From you talk about the Lance Henriksen thing, it actually reminded me of the first Tales from the Crypt movie, Demon Knight.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that one. That's another one. I think that's an overlooked movie. I think that's a pretty cool one.
Oh, I thought Billy Zane.
Yep. Billy Zane. Billy Zane being Billy Zane all over the place.
Big time. It's got that guy from Wings who's a mechanic on Wings. I don't know his name. He's in a couple of things.
Yeah.
I don't know what his name is, but he's like the weird punk rock deviant. What the heck is his name?
Right. Yeah.
Crazy.
Not Thomas Church, was it? Is it Thomas Church?
Thomas Church. Yeah. I believe he's one of the degenerates.
The cure for cancer will never be here because it is filled up with stupid things like, as Scott Groves points out, Thomas Hayden Church's name. But yes. Cool. All right. So cooking along here, we got about 15, 17 minutes left of us. So we might.
I love it. Well, I want to hear your next movie. What is the next
number
one
2
that you
movie,
choose?
which will also has a call out to Mr. Iggy Pop, is another 80s movie. Now this one is sci-fi. This is a movie called Hardware, directed by Richard Stanley. Most famously known for being kicked off as director, who was then fired from The Island of Dr. Monroe. Recently did a version of The Color Out of Space. But Hardware is a kind of post-apocalyptic, but it's actually more dystopian movie. It's in the future. There's like massive overcrowding. There's been nuclear exchange, so there's like radioactive warfare out there. But there's still like bastions of civilization. And it stars Dylan McDermott as Mo, who is kind of a scavenger. So he makes a living by going out into like the radiation blasted wasteland and bringing back stuff that could be used in the city. and his girlfriend who lives in the city. She is a sculptor. Of course, and this being a dystopian society, of course, she does not work in clay or wood. She works in metal. Like welding stuff together and everything. And so Mo, while he is out in the wasteland, he doesn't through dealing with a guy like basically like the fixer type. He gets his hands on what appears to be a broken down maintenance droid, and he brings that back to his girlfriend because she will love using this in her sculpture. And that all goes well until it turns out it is not a maintenance droid. It is actually a prototype military robot, which is set to basically annihilate people, and it can repair itself. So before you know it, the robot has basically taken all the scrap metal in girlfriend sculptor's apartment and has rebuilt itself and begins terrorizing people. So it is we had that movie. We had about 7 movies in college. And we watched that movie so many times that parts of it were now in black and white because we watched the color out of that movie. It has again. It has. I forget the name. I forget the name of the actress. I don't think she was in much. Who played girlfriend? There was kind of the third person in their little triad is their friend Shades, who is an astronaut, and he always wears his shades. Obviously, where he gets his name. But one of the voices that we hear throughout the episode is the DJ Angry Bob, and Angry Bob is played by Mr. Iggy Pop, and he does some great voiceover. At one point, they have to grab a water taxi to go to girlfriend's apartment, and the skipper of that water taxi is Mr. Lemmy from Motorhead. And so it is a great movie. Wonderful soundtracks. It's got Ministry, where they actually play Ministry over a Guar video, because apparently, like Ministry itself, and of course it has Public Image Limited. This is what you want. This is what you get. This is what you want. This is what you get. So it's a great little bit of cinema. We watched the hell out of it in college. And it is the perfect type of if you have one of those gaming groups who likes to take souvenirs of their adventures, like, hey, we just defeated that Iron Golem. Wouldn't his head look great back in our headquarters? Yeah, that'd be a great idea until it starts reassembling itself out of all the bits and pieces you have, and you come home and you find that it's grafted all of your +6 swords onto your body and your halberds and everything. It's turned itself into a polearm like spider, and it jumps you like Kato in a Pink Panther movie as soon as you come in through the door. But yeah, it's a great movie just to watch, and it's one of those movies that I think just recently it's been re-released on DVD or Blu-ray. So for the longest time it was only available on VHS, but now I own a copy of it on Blu-ray and I can watch it anytime I want. So I'm very happy. Hardware is my choice for my number 2 movie for this evening.
That's awesome. I haven't actually seen that one. When you told me about it, when you mentioned to me when we first talked about this episode, I went and looked for it, and I was able to watch like the trailer on YouTube,
right.
But I couldn't. It's not on any of the streaming. I have like so many weird streaming things. I just wasn't like willing to get another one for it. But it looks really good though. It's on my list now.
Well, I tell you what, if when the coronavirus breaks everything, if I'm ever down in Georgia or you're up in here, I will bring my Blu-ray of Hardware and we'll hang out and watch it. No. Awesome.
I would love that.
In fact, I was just hanging out with Zoom friends with some. I was having a Zoom hangout with some of my buddies from college, and I actually dug up the old VHS version that I had. So I was like, "Look what I got, guys!" So yeah.
Awesome.
All right, so number 3 for you, there, Mr. Brendan.
Okay, so here goes. This is the one that I think is going to be the unpopular one. So everyone. I'm about to take some flack for this. This is a movie that I really like, and I like it so much. I don't understand where all the hate it gets. People really. This is one of those movies that since the first time it came out, people were violently opposed to this film, but I have always liked it. And this has got it's got Christian Bale and as you said, a pre-300 Gerard Butler before the muscles, and I think this is a good one. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If you haven't already switched the channel, it is Reign of Fire. Okay, look, it's a dragon apocalypse movie, okay? In this the dragons pop up every so often, destroy the world, and then civilization has to drag itself back up from nothing again and again and again. They're dragons. They fly around, they breathe fire, they spawn like fish. You've got some Americans, the Kentucky Irregulars, led by McConaughey. That's McConaughey. Show up. Is that some hate mail?
That's me. My computer just decided to remind me of something. So.
I thought we just got fired. Like, sorry, LaSalle.
You're out. That's it.
I know, right? But I just don't understand all the hate that movie gets. You know what I mean? It's there are so many apocalyptic films. Someone's like, hey, how about what if the cause of the apocalypse was dragons? I feel like the reason that this is my theory. The reason that Reign of Fire gets all the hate that it does is that it is an apocalyptic film. It's basically like a B movie, but it's got pretensions. They spent some money. They got the script's a little bit too good. The actors were a little bit too good. If that thing was like one letter grade lower than it was as far as actual cinema quality, I think it would be like a beloved B film that everyone would be into. But instead, it swung for the fences, and everybody hates it. And, I don't know, but I loved that movie when I first saw it. I thought it was a trip. I still do, and I really enjoy doing it. And I love, and like as far as like a role playing game thing, like to me, what that makes me think of is like alternate apocalypses. You know what I'm saying? Typically, we basically have two apocalypse genres for the most part. We have zombie, and we have the great disaster, which is almost always like something along the lines of nuclear war. So, I mean, why can't we have a different kind of apocalypse? Why can't we have, something that was actually set off by popular D&D style monsters? It's one of the D's in D&D style monsters. So I don't understand the hate, but but feel free to email me and tell me, Brendan@goodman-games.com. Feel free to tell me why I'm wrong. I mean, you and Roger Ebert, you know what I'm saying? But I love that movie, still do.
Well, I as I said, I saw it in the theaters. I had fun kind of coming up with my whole that this is metaphor for the fall of Satan, so I was entertained during it. I have a friend who is very upset with the movie because in the trailer there is a helicopter versus dragon fight, which apparently never made it to the actual final cut of the movie. So I think he went in there. He was very upset. He did not get his helicopter versus dragon fight. So yeah. So I can understand why some people have a little bit of a grudge against it. But how would you then? What would you do with Reign of Fire and make it so? Hey, would you just rip off the plot wholesale? I mean, would you just post-apocalyptic but with dragons, or
The element that I would steal, okay, if I was going to do use this to do an apocalyptic thing, would be the story would have two time periods. One, like the zero level funnel part, would be all of the I'm thinking of it in DCT terms. The zero level funnel would be all of these people as like kids, like literal maybe teenagers, but maybe even younger, And the event kicks off whatever it was. It wouldn't be. I wouldn't use a dragon again because I just can't. I can't take that kind of heat. But whatever your monster is, it could be demons or angels. It could be mutant bikers. Whatever it is, I would have the 2-layer thing where first the people who are there have lived in the pre-apocalyptic world, and then I would have them have to survive the very, very initial event of it, and then fast forward and say, okay, everyone, you can go ahead and level your character up. Now you're level 2, 3, or whatever, and it's 20 years later, and now the world is completely society is completely broken down. This thing is still ongoing, but now maybe there's a chance some new evidence or something comes up that makes you think maybe we can get involved and actually stop this somehow. So that's the part that I would take. If I was going to steal a part from that, I would do a character funnel pre-apocalyptic, and then the adventure post-apocalyptic after those with the same players, the same characters. Whoever survived the funnel would then be 20 years later, and and pretending to be Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker in front of a bunch of kids. I don't know. So.
Oh, well. Well, apparently Scott Groves agrees. He says, "Whoa, that's an insane game idea." So yes, don't try this at home, people. Leave this to the professionals, like professional Mr. Brendan LaSalle, whose only mind can come up with this sort of stuff because he likes Ring of Fire. So that's it. Oh, so cool, man. All right. All right. Well, I think that takes it to me, and I think we just have enough time for me to talk about mine. Now, I'm going to pick one which, for me, sums up the 80s. I guess all my movies are roughly 80s. Maybe Hardware was maybe 90, 91 or something. But anyway, it's a little movie that I'm sure will strike a soft spot in some of the hearts of, especially if you were a young male during the 1980s. It is a movie that taught us that no matter how well trained your army is, you will always be defeated by American high school students. It is a movie called Red Dawn. So yes, that is I'm sure everybody knows the basic premise of Red Dawn. It takes place in the 1980s. A coalition of Russians and Cubans decide to invade Colorado. And basically it is up to the Wolverines, the name of the local high school football team, led by Patrick Swayze and starring also Jennifer Grey, before Dirty Dancing, if I remember my chronology right. And oh my God, I'm totally forgetting him now. I think Charlie Sheen is in it, and C. Thomas Howell. C. Thomas Howell.
Yes, yeah.
C. Thomas Howell. Yes. So
I hadn't thought about that.
It is yes. So so that is, of course, the Russians and the Cubans invade a small town in Colorado, and it is up to them to band together. They go into the mountains and they live as guerrillas, and they attack Russian convoys. And eventually, Powers Booth falls out of the sky, and he teaches them how to be. He teaches them more guerrilla tactics, and eventually things go okay for some of them, but not so good for others. And if in case you're guessing, America wins World War III. So you can tell this and the movie Iron Eagle taught anybody, don't mess with us because we will send high school students after you and they will kick your ass. Mm-hmm. So that is a personal favorite of mine. It is one of the reasons I love Twilight 2000. We talked about the last post-apocalyptic show when that came out. That is basically almost your chance to live Red Dawn. But I think you could do so much with that. That is, like, to me, when I think about it, that's like the perfect zero level funnel. Like, you guys are in your little town, and something like the dimensional gate opens up and mind flayers start pouring in and demons show up or anything, and it's just like you guys running for the hills. And then you slowly learn sorcery by, like, killing mind flayers and eating their brains or however you go. And eventually, like, you're the guerrilla warfare trying to drive the dimensional invaders back to wherever they came from. I think that would be the perfect setup for a zero level funnel. You could just throw everybody into the meat grinder, and whoever survives, they're now first level up in the hills, going to, like, ancient dwarven establishments trying to find magical items or whatever, and So it is a favorite one of my movies, one of my guilty pleasures. Originally, the original script, not quite so America rules, It was more like, hey, war is terrible, but apparently you can only get funding when America rules, ha ha ha, and Reagan is president. So, and a very small personal item of note. Many years ago, when I was working in Hollywood, I worked on a film with C. Thomas Howell, and we were shooting on a ranch, and there was a prisoner PO war, fence kind of set up and everything, and I got on the other side of that, and I did my "Sons, avenge me!" to C. Thomas Howell, who, now that I think of it, the role of the father was played by Harry Dean Stanton. So this is apparently all my choices are going to the same movie right now.
I didn't remember that. Wow, that's a trip.
But yes, I got to do a Red Dawn reference directly to C. Thomas Howell on the set of Night of the Wolf with Ann Archer. So there we go. That's my claim to fame. I am sticking with it. So
very cool.
All
well,
right. So you want to
talk of the wolf is.
Yeah, you want to know something, Brendan? I think we've made it for a whole hour tonight with no technical mishaps, and it looks like our video is clean, and hopefully we won't have if you're watching this later, you will not be seeing a herky jerky version, which we had some problems with some drop frames and such. So before we say goodbye, it's been a while. So do we have a sponsor for tonight's show there?
We do have a sponsor. It's near and dear to my heart. It's a huge part of the community. They don't get near enough love, and they get some love. That is, of course, Purple Sorcerer. Purple Sorcerer, none love thee more than I. The reason we can do our jobs, correctly and in timely fashion that we were. You're a fan, I'm a fan. I support them. Whenever they have a funding drive, throw them some cash. Let Purple Sorcerer come into your heart. And check out the adventures that they have on their website that they sponsor, because they're full of just shock-a-block awesomeness. I can't recommend them highly enough. Huge fan, and thank you for watching this, Purple Sorcerer. Thank you for all your efforts. We are grateful.
All right, and I think with that, it is time for us to go back into the basement and hang out for another night. We will be back in 7 days, and we will be talking about something new. So thank you very much for joining us, and
thank you. Stay
safe out there, and we will catch you guys later. All right, so good night, everybody.
The geeks come out at night. The geeks come out at night. The geeks come out at night. The geeks come out. The geeks come out at night.